All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back in to the tristatefootball.com preview show. My name is Safwan Alvi. I am joined, as always, by my partner in crime, the guru of high school football in the tri state area, aka the Shuru. His name is Greg Shoemaker. And again, we are tristatefootball.com. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms, right? The venue formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. That's at TS Football. Again, that's at TS Football. You can like us on Facebook. Just type in tristatefootball.com in the search bar. And then you can also like us and follow us on YouTube on the Friday Night Lights. The Friday Football Live crew from NKU does our live streaming every Friday night during the post-game show. So again, just on YouTube, search up tristatefootball.com. Greg, it is week 10. We have officially reached the end of the regular season. It is walkthrough Wednesday, right? Kickoff is just under 48 hours away from the big matchups of week 10. And I want to talk about a couple things, right? The playoffs are coming up, but I know we will have our time to talk about the playoffs. Right now, we have a couple teams who we want to show some love to that have had some excellent regular seasons and are well on their way to having an undefeated 10-0 regular season, right? We got some teams from Southwest Ohio, and we have a team from Northern Kentucky. I want to start with that team from Northern Kentucky just to get them going. The number 4 ranked in our Blitz 5 Top 25, Greg, the Cooper Jaguars, right? Showing that last year was no fluke, right? Going to the state championship game, and this year dominating most of their opponents, well coached, excellent year, on their way to 10-0. Just an awesome year for the Cooper Jaguars.
It really has been, and this is the first time in 17 years. Well, they had never been 7-0 before this year, so first time in their 17-year history that they got a chance to go undefeated in the regular season. Quarterback Cam O'Hara, 29 touchdown passes, Safwan, only 1 interception. And Isaiah Johnson, the wide receiver, now has 44 career touchdown passes or touchdown receptions, and that puts him in 11th place all time in Northern Kentucky history for touchdown receptions by a player.
Wow, excellent year by Cooper. And Greg, real quick, I want to talk about kind of their playoff prospects, right? I know we'll talk about this, week in and week out as we go forward with the playoffs. But overall, coming into week 10, what are you looking at as they end this week and go in towards November playoff time?
Yeah, I think you get through the first 3 weeks, and then you just start looking at guys like Highlands and some of those other teams that will be out there and prowling. And last year they were the hunter. This year they're the hunted. So it will be a little different. But I think this team's got enough in its tank and enough savvy and playoff experience that they're going to handle that just fine.
Absolutely. Great season by the Cooper Jaguars, looking to finish that 10-0 season. And Greg, another team, just like you mentioned with Cooper, that is not used to having 10-0 seasons, right? How about the Anderson Raptors going up to Southwest Ohio? We know about the big game that we talked about right here at the same time last week. They defeated the Whitten Woods Warriors, right? The ultimate litmus test. We talked about the Anderson Raptors, right? Because the number one thing that everybody was saying about Anderson was, they didn't play anybody, right? Their strength of schedule wasn't there, and, they haven't played anybody. Well, that is no longer the case because they played Whitten Woods, and they played well, especially on the offensive side of the ball against that great Whitten Woods defense. Greg, a lot of the questions have been answered about the Anderson team, and for the first time since 2009, they were looking to finish the regular season undefeated.
How about that? I was there the last time that happened, Andrew Norwell's senior year, and that was the year they moved up to Division One and played Elder in the playoffs that season. Remember, I don't know if everybody remembers this, but Andrew Norwell broke his leg, I think is what it was, and missed most of the season, and then came back in the playoffs, and boy, they doggone near knocked off Elder at Nippert Stadium for the regional championship. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, what a great year. Again, Gary, I want to do the same thing real quick about Anderson. They passed the test of Whitten Woods. Just real quick, going into this week 10, what are your thoughts about this team? How far can they go as we come playoff time? It does really feel like the sky is the limit for this Anderson team.
They're legit. There's no doubt about it. And, they got to go through Massillon, Washington. That's who they lost to. I think they put a 55 spot up on them last year in the playoffs. And I'll be quite honest with you. This Anderson team can play defense, which is something that, now they've got that lethal, potent combination of good defense and good offense. And boy, I'm so impressed with what they've done. They are a fantastic looking football team.
Yeah, Anderson is going to have a big test come playoff time because that Massillon Washington team, they beat Lakewood St. Edwards this year, right? The reigning 3-time Division One state champion. So that Massillon Washington team is in the horizon for Anderson. But again, big congratulations on a potential 10-0 season for the Raptors. And Greg, now I want to go to a team that's very used to having 10-0 seasons,
Oh
right?
my goodness, yes.
Anderson and Cooper, great teams, not used to 10-0 seasons. But the Wyoming Cowboys, right? Seems like year in and year out, we are having this conversation as they are going undefeated to end the regular season. Coach Hancock, same thing, different year. They reload over there at Wyoming, right? They don't rebuild. You lose, Evan Prater, okay, right? You lose CJ Hester, okay. These are Mr. Ohio type of candidates, and the regular season yet again finishes 10-0.
Yeah, I mean, they went. This is the eighth time in the last 9 years they've gone 10-0 or undefeated in the regular season, and they
Yep.
went 8-0 in the COVID year of 2020 and went 11-1 overall that year. But a shortened season. Other than that, I mean, this team just like you said, they've lost one regular season game since 2017. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was that Indian Hill game, correct? That was,
Last
I think,
year,
last year
yeah.
against Indian Hill. Yeah. This team that wins in the regular season. And Greg, real quick, again, I know this team, they're in that Division 4. Again, big prospects come playoff time, right? This is a team that can, make it to the regional final.
That's a loaded region. Region 16 is
Yep.
very loaded. Valley View's playing well. They moved up. They're the winners of the last two Division 5 Region 20 championships, and they moved up. They're 7-2 right now. They're hot. You got Clinton Massey, a fantastically hot team right now as well. They've been taking care of business, and then you've got who else am I missing out of that group there? Indian Hill still prowling around in that group. New Richmond, I don't know if they're going to make it in there. That quarterback was just out too long this season, but it's a shame. But New Richmond would have been good in that situation. But yeah, I mean, man, Division 4 Region 16 is loaded with great teams. And I'm not too sure that the Division 4 state championship doesn't come out of that region with Wyoming and Clinton Massey and Indian Hill.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, Indian Hill, they just lost only by 10 points, and they beat Wyoming last year. So if they play again, we know we're going to get a great game there. So again, congratulations to all those teams on the horizon looking for a 10-0 start, right? The Cooper Jaguars, Anderson Raptors, and then the Wyoming Cowboys. All right, Greg, now let's talk about some of the matchups we got cooking up to end the regular season, right? Week 10 of 10. We have 3 Blitz 5 top 25 matchups, and we will start in Southwest Ohio. And why don't we start with the GCL South, right? The last GCL South game being played of 2024, number 13th ranked, the LaSalle Lancers, coming in at 7-2. They will go to the Pit, right? Number 12th ranked, the Elder Panthers. This is our Blitz 5 game of the week. Greg, it's always fun to go to Elder, right? It's always fun to go to the Pit, and it makes it even better when it's a GCL South game. 2 hard-nosed, well-coached teams looking to improve their playoff prospects come, game time. This is a really exciting matchup, and it's at one of the best venues in the entire country at the Pit.
Yeah, and this game's got a lot of playoff implications on it. I mean, right now, Elder's sitting on a hosting one game in the playoffs. If they lose, they may move down to the 10 spot and not be able to host a game in the playoffs.
Wow.
And if McNick wins, they could go all the way up to the number 2 seed behind Anderson. So they've got a chance to have 2 playoff games. But this game, Safwan, is going to be all about defense. 2 teams that have trouble scoring the football and 2 teams that are very good defensively. Like what's up here, LaSalle's held 8 of its last 9 foes to 19 points or less. And then, Elder's having a problem putting the biscuit in the basket, as he used to say. But, they've had some trouble scoring some points as well. They've only scored 17 points or more once in the last 6 games. So I think it's going to be a very fast moving football game for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. LaSalle Lancers. And Greg, I know what you like about LaSalle, right? They have a lot of senior leadership on this team, right? Guys like Brady O'Connor, right? The name goes on and on. Pat McLaughlin, right, at the quarterback position. There's a lot of seniors on this team. So maybe even if they don't look like world beaters per se, they're going to be a tough out because there's so much experience. There's so much leadership, right? This is a LaSalle team that I know Elder is looking forward to playing, doesn't want to play, and then more specifically going into the playoffs, right? LaSalle is going to be a tough out for anybody because of that senior leadership and experience.
Absolutely. And, it's something to be said. There's a big difference between being 8-2 and 7-3. And I think that's going to be mentally in their heads too. They want to get that 8th win. And like I said, they've been playing well all season long defensively. Again, they got to somebody's going to have to put some. I think the first team, if a team gets to 20 points in this game, they're going to be the winners.
Absolutely. Again, that is our Blitz 5 game of the week. So the entire crew will be hanging out at the pit on the west side this week for week 10. All right, Greg, I want to jump over to the GMC, right? The GMC champion, number 2 ranked Lakota West, right? They are taking on number 18 Mason, right? Mason coming in at 5-4 on the year. Mason is another team that we appreciate. Greg, Tom Bolden has claimed yet another GMC championship, right? Stop me if you have heard that before. About 14 or 15 different times we have said that, right? Tom Bolden claiming the GMC. He has done it for a long time. He has done it again. And Greg, this team going into this Mason game and just overall, just great on defense, well coached, just a hard out. Tom Bolden doing it again with another GMC championship.
So, the thing about this is West is averaging a lot of points in this 6-game winning streak. The comments, Mason comes into this game on a 4-game winning streak and has played much better offensively. But the fact of the matter is they're not good enough offensively to keep up on the scoreboard with what West does. So they're going to have to take the air out of the ball. They're going to have some sustained long drives if they're going to stay in this ball game. But, man, West can put up points in a hurry. And Sam Wiles, you can say what you will, but I don't know, man. I'm looking at the GMC and I'm thinking Sam Wiles might be your player of the year offensively in that league. He's just so valuable to what they do.
Absolutely, Sam Wiles. We're a really special athlete too. When you watch him run, he's one of those quarterbacks, right, that turns 5 yards into 7 yards, 9 yards into 11 yards, and then you got Braden Johnson right next to him in the backfield. Great, that's a really potent running game they have.
Well, yeah, and Kenyon Norman, the sophomore, who's now catching the ball and running the ball out of the backfield, incredibly fast, brings a whole different dimension to that backfield. Braden's a bruiser. Johnson is a bruiser. Wiles can do it with his feet, and he can do it with his arm. And then again, you got the speed of Norman back there. And Tom Bolden was on with us last week in the post-game show on High School Football Tonight, and he was saying that, this team defensively up front, we're just really big and strong, and we just get the job done with 3 and outs are the way we go about things.
Yeah, playing excellent on defense, right? A Tom Bolden special. GMC champions yet again. All right, Greg, I want to talk in a little bit now. Let's pivot to the GCL co-ed, right? Because the winner of this game coming up, right? 2 teams in our Blitz 5 Top 25. The GCL co-ed title is on the line between number 17th ranked Baden, right? The Rams taking on number 24th ranked McNick. Baden coming in at 7-2, and then McNick coming in at 4-0. Both of them undefeated in conference play. Greg, this is going to be a really exciting game. This could really be one of the games of the night, right? This is one of the 3 or 4 games that I think could really be a game of the night type of game.
When you look at these 2 teams, are red hot. McNick has won 8 in a row. They're 3 points away from being undefeated. They lost that opener to Steubenville 18-16, and after that they've been great. Allowing just 8.8 points per game, and Baden's won 7 straight, and they haven't given up, I think, more than 14 in their 7-game winning streak. And this is going to be another game that moves pretty fast. Both of these offenses. They're just lunch pail offenses. They're hardworking blue collar offenses. Nothing flashy about either one of them. And you look at the defense. I just think there's guys on the defense that are going to step up and play, have big plays. In this one, there's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Again, the GCL co-ed title is on the line. Baden, they are kind of a mainstay now playing for GCL co-ed titles. But McNick, another good team, consistent year in and year out. I know we love the job Mike Orlando does right over there at McNick. It's just a good football team, right? They're hard-nosed, and I think they're going to be a problem come playoff time. Greg, I want to talk about one more game in Southwest Ohio. We're going to look at the MVC. Right? How about 2 smaller schools having a really good and excellent season? How about Cincinnati Country Day? They've just turned into a winning program, right? They're just winning a bunch of games. They got guys coming out to play. They got so many good players. And then they are going to St. Bernard Elmwood Place, who also come into this game at 8-1, 4-0 record on the season. Again, this is Division 6, Region 24. Greg, there's a lot to like about both these teams. As I mentioned, Cincinnati Country Day, they've been doing a lot of winning, right, with head coach Coyle, and Lee Thomas and, some of those young men they got over there at CCD. This is going to be another game that's really interesting to see and should be really fun to watch.
Yeah, so both of these teams, they both are playing Division 6, Region 24 with Coldwater Invitational. But right now, Cincinnati Country Day is sitting at number 3 in the computer rankings, and St. Bernard Elmwood Place is sitting in number 5. So there's a chance that both of these teams could finish in the top 4 and get 2 first-round home games. And that'll all come down to, I think CCD is okay if they lose. They could still get a top 4 seed. But if St. Bernard wins, this is going to be really interesting to see what happens. But hats off to the Miami Valley Conference Gray Division for being such a good team this year. And Cincinnati Country Day quarterback Elijah Gutman's thrown for 2,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions to go along with 6 rushing touchdowns too. So having a great year. Last year they were predicated. They ran for more than 3,000 yards last year. This year they're like 2,000 passing and 1,800 rushing, with Lee Thomas leading the way, rushing the football as well. So I think this is going to be a fantastic game Saturday night at Bronze Basovich Stadium on the campus of Roger Bacon High School.
Wow, absolutely absurd. 26 touchdowns, no interceptions. You want to X's and O's and football 101. How do you win football games? Don't turn the ball over. 26 touchdowns and no interceptions. That's football 101 on how to win games. And Lee Thomas, Greg, he might be one of the most underrated, truly superstars I think we have in the tri-state area. 1,300 yards, 18 touchdowns. He plays for a smaller school, so he doesn't get maybe the shine of someone from Anderson or St. X and, et cetera, et cetera. But he's a really good player and a really special player at that.
We had Coach Coyle. We'll have Coach Coyle joining us on Friday pregame show on high school football tonight, or pregame portion of the show. And he was telling me the reason that he doesn't have any D1 offers is that he runs a 4.7, 4.8 40. When colleges see that, they shy away. But like I was telling Coach Coyle, I said, I don't know about how these kids get these stars from these recruiting things. All I know is football players. And Lee Thomas is a football player. He's also leads the team in interceptions with 4. Say what you will. Football players are football players, and this kid is a heck of a high school football player.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of those guys that plays faster on film, right? Maybe than he does running in t-shirts and shorts. I really like Lee Thomas, and I agree. He's a football player. Okay, all right, Greg. I want to jump down to the Bluegrass State. Right, we got some good games going on in the Bluegrass State. Right, we got some Class 5A happening right now. Class 4A, actually. Excuse me. We have Mason County going to number 14th ranked Covington Catholic. Greg, the District 5 title on the line yet again in Class 4A. And CovCath, they are starting to look like CovCath because they are really peaking at the right time. They have 6 straight wins coming into the regular season finale.
They do. And, this is an interesting game because Mason County, a very good team. They like to throw the ball, but CovCath's got 6 straight wins, 42 points or more in all of them. They've outscored their district opponents 166-6 with a 53-point average margin of victory. They run the ball. Cash Harney, the quarterbacks, run for 828 yards and 10 touchdowns. Dylan Geyser, the running back, right there with him, 817 and 9 touchdowns on the ground. They're a fantastic team. Now, Mason County, sort of the same boat. They beat all their opponents pretty well in the district play as well. And they're 35-11 under head coach Joe Wynn, who took over there 4 years ago. And I don't know if you remember Joe Wynn, but Joe was the head coach at Newport High School before he took the Mason job. He did a really nice job turning that program around, and he's done a good job at Mason County sustaining a winning culture over there. And, there's times when they are really, really good at Mason County, but there are also years after they're really, really good that they've been really, really bad. Now Joe's starting to make them a consistent winner. This is going to be a fun game, but I just think CovCath is just putting on a show right now, running the football, and they've been really good at it in this current, they lost their first 2 games, and now they've won 6 in a row. And they've been outstanding in that span.
Yeah, CovCath, the literal and true definition of maybe if you don't start the season hot, it's about when you get hot, right? Coming in playoff time, again, we talked about 6 straight wins, 42-plus points. CovCath is a steamrolling engine right now. And yet again, that Class 4A District 5 title is on the line in that game. Greg, another District 5 title on the line, but this time Class 2A, right? Class 2A District 5 title on the line with the team that seems like they're always playing for the district title, right? The Beechwood Tigers coming in at number 22nd in our polls and rankings, 8-1 on the season, 4-0 in divisional play. They are taking on Bracken County, right? They are coming in 7-1 and then 4-0 in district play, Greg. And I feel like I read this and I couldn't believe it. Beechwood has outscored its 4 district opponents 233 to nothing. But this seems like a very Beechwood thing to do, right? When they play teams that they're used to playing in the district, they really key in and hone in on really dominating their opponents.
Absolutely. And they do this. I mean, they play such a tough schedule to start off with. By the time they get to district play, they're just, we've seen all this. We're going to kick some booty. And then, but that said, Bracken County, who's not very familiar to being in this position, they've outscored the same 4 opponents that Beechwood has had played, not 196 to 29. So they're only allowing 7.6 points per game with an average margin of victory of 36.9 points per game. And they basically run the football. Dalton Tarter, the son of the head coach, Steve Tarter, over there at Bracken County, he leads the Polar Bears with 1,463 yards rushing and 22 touchdowns. Also, what's really cool about this young man is he's got 5 interceptions. He's returned 4 of them for touchdowns. So we know Clay Hayden. He's got 104 career touchdown passes in the top 25 all time now in school history. But he's got to go with this kid on defense against this Tarter kid, and he can make a big play. And that's what Bracken's going to need in this game is a big play or two on defense. And Tarter's the kid. I mean, he's pretty much a one-man show for them. He's a superstar for the Polar Bears. And I think if they can contain him and make other people, if Beechwood can contain him and make other people beat them, it's going to be a good night for Beechwood for sure.
Absolutely. Again, that Class 2A District 5 title on the line as Beechwood goes to Bracken County. And Greg, before we get out of here, it's the last regular season show we got, right? Next time we're going to be talking, it will be playoff time. So tell me what your thoughts are as we get ready to wrap up this regular season, right? The playoffs are right around the corner. Kind of just overall thoughts of so far of the season, just overall week 10, kind of where you at right now as we finish the regular season.
Well, I think for the most part, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. There were blowouts and shutouts. Yep. And I think the next couple of weeks, we're going to see the same thing, blowouts and shutouts the first week or two of the playoffs, because your 1 through 4 seeds in Ohio and all your regions are pretty doggone good. Your 13, 14, 15, and 16 seeds aren't quite as good. And for the most part, they're happy they got there, but those are mismatches on paper, all of those games. So I look for this. Everybody stay healthy this week, and you get into the playoffs next week. And then you just start feeling yourself out. Talked to Steve Speck last week. He's still waiting for his St. Xavier Bombers to play a complete game. We've seen them play good on defense, and we've seen them play good on offense, but we haven't seen them play good on both sides of the ball. And even special teams he talked about. We'd like to have a better performance out of them. And I think that's where a lot of teams are, right? A lot of these teams, like an Elder, like a LaSalle, yeah, we've seen them play. There's signs of greatness in there, but what's the real thing? Who are they really? And Winton Woods in Division I now, they're going to put some dampers on some things in the second, third, and fourth rounds of the tournament if they get that far deep into it. So they're going to be a menace in Region 4. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much to look forward to. Again, the end of the regular season going into the playoffs, right? It's all about matchups, right? You know what we say, styles make fights, right? Styles make fights. So, for example, St. X versus Winton Woods, again, just hypothetical, that St. X offense going against that Winton Woods defense, all of a sudden it's game on, right? And we just can't wait for matchups like that. All the computer rankings are going to get taken care of within the next week, after this football week 10. And that's going to do it for us. Greg Shoemaker and Dan Claskins will be back on the post-game show this Friday after that St. Xavier game. And again, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. And you can follow all the games on tristatefootball.com/scores. That's where the Underground Sport Shop scoreboard is. Again, you can get all the scores from Southwest Ohio, Eastern Indiana, and Northern Kentucky. tristatefootball.com/scores. All right, Greg, next time we'll be talking, it will be playoff time. So I look forward to that. I will see you next week. We thank you all for listening on the tristatefootball.com preview show.